The impact of Arizona's forts and bases.
It's not about the economic impact, it's about remaining relevant to national security. And that's the reason why we're doing significant things here at Fort Huachuca.
An inside look at the mission and challenges of Arizona's military installations.
If you're on the ground and you have a radio and you're looking at a bad guy down the road, we'll be there for you.
From the Air Force to the Army, this is Arizona Week. Proposed budget cuts to the A10 Fighter program of the Air Force. From the cockpit to Congress, here is Arizona Public Media's Christopher Conover.
Air Force pilots and ground troops have a nickname for the A-10, the Flying Gun.
It's a 7-barrel 30-millimeter cannon. Each one of the barrels is rifled just like a standard rifle that you would buy from a gun store to give spin onto the round to make it extremely accurate. Rate of fire is about approximately 3,900 rounds per minute. Typically in combat, our standard pull is anywhere from 3 to 4 seconds, somewhere in that 180 to 200 rounds per engagement is what we're throwing down range.
The plane, first built in the early 1970s, is a favorite of ground troops for its ability to fly low and slow, providing them close air support, CAS in military lingo. But after service in both Gulf Wars, the Air Force is trying to mothball the unique-looking plane.
When I asked General Welch, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, when he came to speak in front of the House Armed Services Committee, I said to him, would you be retiring the A-10 if you weren't facing budget cuts? And he didn't really answer directly. So I asked again, what is the reason, General, that you're even proposing to divest the A-10 from the Air Force? He said one word: sequestration.
Barber is a part of a group of senators and representatives who have sent letters to the president urging that the A-10 be kept in the active military arsenal. He included language in the defense budget keeping the A-10 in the air for now.
We put language in there that says to the Air Force, you cannot retire, you cannot plan for retirement, and as you said, you can't even think about retiring or divesting the A-10. And that is not just for a fiscal year, that's for the entire calendar year. And our purpose in doing so is to say, look, there has to be some in-depth look at why we're doing this. Does it make sense to do this? Is it cost effective to do this? We believe the answer is no. You cannot, should not do this, at least until, and it's many years away, we have another aircraft who can do this job.
At Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, the A-10 is the main airplane flown by the members of the 355th Fighter Wing and its squadrons, including the 357th Dragons. The mission they train for and teach new pilots about is close air support.
This line denotes the forward line of owned troops. All these are friendly forces. Over here is the enemy, and I can see we've got all throughout all of these tactical complexes, you have a main airfield, so a larger dirt strip, and then you also have an auxiliary airfield here.
But after 5 years in the A-10 cockpit, including tours in Afghanistan, Greb says it's reliable and gets the job done.
Every guy in this building who flies A-10s understands that he is a support asset. We support the Army, the Marine Corps, sailors, other airmen, Coast Guardsmen. It doesn't matter. If you're on the ground and you have a radio and you're looking at a bad guy down the road, we'll be there for you.
Because the plane is old, over the last decade, the Air Force has invested millions to upgrade it for fighting in the modern theater of war. Greb says the planes have new high-tech electronics.
This is new age. So most of the A-10 operational units now have the helmet-mounted cueing system. So what you see right there is this little scorpion monocle, and that provides the helmet-mounted display capability that the A-10 now has.
We have spent over $1 billion upgrading the A-10. New electronic packages, new wings. We have spent a lot of money making this aircraft possible to fly for another 15 to 20 years. Why would we divest after we spent all that money? It makes no sense.
For now, the A-10 is safe and continues to fly its mission. But Barber knows the battle to save the Flying Gun will be a continuing one.
Fort Huachuca near Sierra Vista is considered to have the largest economic impact of any of Arizona's 5 major military installations. Rich in history and tradition, its mission continues to press forward. Colonel Tom Finnegan, U.S. Army retired, member of the Fort Huachuca 50, also co-chair of the Military Affairs Commission in Arizona. Thank you for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Let's talk about the importance of Fort Huachuca in Arizona, the grand scheme of things.
Well, looking at just the pure economics of it, it's a $2.3 billion industry down here in the southeast corner of the state. It's the economic engine really for this part of Arizona. And the missions that they have here at Fort Huachuca are unique compared to some of the other installations around the state. We've got probably close to 50 different organizations, but the major missions, military intelligence training. We have the Network Enterprise Technology Command, which is into the cyber world, and then you've got the testing, the electronic proving grounds, doing a lot of the Army and some of the other services, testing antennas to make sure they work, any kind of electronic equipment, and then the Joint Interoperability Test Command that certifies everything that it's in fact interoperable, so the Army guys can talk to the folks aboard ship or up in the air or wherever. So it's a unique mission. We've got the Buffalo Soldier Electronic Test Range that the state was more than happy to name for us and get it on the map for us. So that's basically the mission. Is very unique because of the climate and the geography that we've got down here.
Talk about your role with the Fort Huachuca 50. The sole mission is to keep this installation open and functioning.
Well, the mission, as we normally put it, is, it's the economy. Therefore, we have to preserve the way of life down here in Sierra Vista, we need to protect, defend the fort.
On a statewide level, how important are the other installations to this economy?
Well, they're all important. I think the sum total of the last McGuire study, which was based on 2005 data, released in 2008, the military industry in the state is $9.1 billion. So it's pretty significant, the largest industry in the state. So it's, whether you're out in Yuma or up in Phoenix or Tucson, Davis-Monthan, there's a huge impact on all those communities.
What would Sierra Vista look like without Fort Huachuca?
Have you ever been to Tombstone? It would be pretty dismal. I mean, the entire economy of this city it's a military town. And it would be devastating without it.
Is Arizona a military state?
I think so. It's very much a military state and very much a military-friendly state. Not only supporting the bases, but supporting veterans.
The governor mentioned the importance of maintaining these military installations in her State of the State. She was right.
Oh, she's absolutely right. She's spot on. She gets it. She understands it. And we really appreciate the fact that she's been giving us money for the Military Installation Fund, so the cities, municipalities can do projects, but we can also purchase land or buy easements, development rights, whatever, around the bases to help with some of the encroachment issues that we have.
What do legislators, what do taxpayers, what do they need to know about the importance of the military in Arizona?
Well, it's our economy, and we've got, a lot of soldiers, a lot of civil servant folks, a lot of families that put a lot of money into the economy, and I think what I see when I go around the state to all the different installations and whatnot, in Arizona there's just a tremendous amount of support for the military. They just, do an awful lot just to help. I think people need to be vigilant. I know we do have some who may be detractors, and don't see the mission as being important. I think the mission, whether you're at Luke training F-16 or F-35 pilots, or DM training A-10s, or flying C-130s, or down here doing the testing, that's important, and that's important to your freedom, and that's why we got the freedom we've got.
You're retired. You've been retired for a while. Why be involved in this? Why keep fighting to keep these facilities open?
Well, it's my way of life too. You know, I spent 28 years in the Army, and I love it, and I love this place.
$9 billion and tens of thousands of jobs. That's the impact of military installations on Arizona's economy. From a state to regional level, it's an industry Arizona relies on. Colonel Dan McFarland, Garrison Commander here at Fort Huachuca. Are you at all concerned about the future of this military installation in southern Arizona?
No, not at all. In fact, I'm very optimistic about the future of Fort Huachuca. Based on the latest national defense strategy and national military strategy, we're very well positioned for the future.
Talk about some of the things that makes Fort Huachuca so unique.
We, first of all, we have a couple great missions here. We have the Electronic Proving Ground and the Buffalo Soldier Electronic Test Range, which is a pristine electronic test environment that you can't replicate anywhere else in the United States. In fact, the Army has to do that in Australia. We have a couple great missions, Network Enterprise Command, which also has a cyber role to it. And then we are the DoD subject matter expert when it comes to manned and unmanned aerial flight and the management of that space. And then one of the things that we find is very unique is the geography and the environment here, which replicates South Asia about as good as you can anywhere else in the United States. We host the Border Patrol, the National Guard, Fish and Wildlife, and others. So this is a strong interagency partnership here. And then again, we have strong partnerships with local, state, and federal law enforcement for obvious reasons. You know, we're right along the border, but again, we think we've done a great job in building those partnerships and relationships.
The weather is part of that process as well.
Yes. You know, when you train, it's a common saying, you train as you fight. The fluctuations in the heat are very important, whether you're flying or you're on the ground. Again, Arizona is very similar to Afghanistan right now and other parts of southern Asia, but it's also our mountains. You know, we're sitting just below 5,000 feet here. Miller Peak behind us is just below 10,000 feet. Not exactly what you get in Afghanistan, but it's one of the closest areas you can get to it to replicate it in the United States.
Is Fort Huachuca growing?
I believe it is growing in mission, it's not growing in footprint. And as with anything in DoD, we're constantly looking at what the future is, and that will evolve missions. And so we are looking to evolve and grow our mission. Our mission is tied to joint interagency and hopefully soft in the future, along with those core competencies we talked about before. But as it stands right now, nobody in DoD is necessarily growing just because we're bringing down the end strength.
If you would describe to the people of Arizona how important this installation is to the overall economic picture of the state.
A few years ago, they did a survey, and Fort Huachuca came out as the single greatest DoD economic impact to the state of Arizona. I think it was $2.1 billion. Obviously, that's big for the state. It's catastrophic, or should I say it's very, very important to Sierra Vista and Cochise County. But when you look at the future, and the future of the world and national security, I think Arizona, those figures should potentially go up. And again, it's because we're uniquely positioned. We have all the joint enablers in southern Arizona. We have barium Goldwater. We have this great environment. When you look at the national strategy, when it talks about power projection into Asia, well, you know, I mean, it's easier to project from a 12,000-foot airfield in Arizona than it is from Fort Meade, Maryland.
The governor mentioned the importance of keeping military installations thriving in the state. I think her comments maybe caught some people off guard and they wondered, should we be worried?
I don't think worried is the right term. I think we should be challenged. One of my jobs as the garrison commander is to look, in essence, for growth opportunities, along with the senior mission commander, Major General Ashley, and then Brigadier General Gallagher over at NETCOM, and then all the other commanders here. Within their individual areas, they're looking at mission growth and opportunities. But it's not about the economic impact. It's about remaining relevant to national security. And that's the reason why we're doing significant things here at Fort Huachuca, expanding our range capacity, looking for air corridors that get us access from our restricted airspace to barium Goldwater, and a series of other things. Those are all driven based on the national security strategy and what we think the future is going to be. That's our challenge.
Is Fort Huachuca considered maybe a training mecca of sorts for the military?
I would like to believe it is, but the truth is it's probably not a mecca yet. But I think that's because we're an untold story. People just don't know a lot about what Fort Huachuca has. From the training perspective, we're known for two things, the Intel Center and all the things that go on with Intel, and then the UAS, or the remote piloted aircraft training. We think we have a lot more to offer, and again, anybody who is going to South Asia or fighting the CT fight, fighting in a joint interagency environment, we think Fort Huachuca is the post of choice to do that training.
There's a talk of maybe a BRAC in 2017. Any concern from you in this facility here?
As you know, BRAC is between the service chiefs and Congress, so I can't really speculate on the BRAC. What I can say is I think Fort Huachuca is uniquely positioned to be extremely important and valuable to DoD, not just the Army. And I think that's really the key enabler there. And I think based on that, I'm pretty comfortable that the rest of the service and DoD will see our value, and so will Congress. Fort Huachuca, I believe, is leading the Army in balancing the environmental stewardship and mission growth. We're about to break ground on a extremely large, the largest solar project in DoD. That's going to occur in a couple months. We are extremely good stewards of our water here, and that's obviously very precious in Arizona. We've been net zero on the installation for the last decade, and now we've gotten to the point where we can say we are, for all practical purposes, net zero with our entire footprint in this area. And then we're great stewards with the endangered species that roam on Fort Huachuca and everything else. So for some states that might not be important, but I think for the people of Arizona to know that, it's important.
And joining me with more analysis on Arizona military installations are retired Air Force Major General Don Shepard, member of Arizona Public Media's Community Advisory Board, retired Air Force Colonel Kent Lofbaum, and retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Don Spees. Also here with me is Arizona Public Media's Christopher Conover. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today.
Glad to be here.
Let's start with you, Lieutenant Colonel. Fort Huachuca is a place that is rich in history and tradition. Any concern about that facility as we move forward?
Well, I would say that it does have a lot of capability down there. It's got one of the best electronic warfare ranges in the world. And with that capability, I don't think that it appears it's at any great risk at this time. But it is important for the community to continue to support Fort Huachuca and the men and women that are serving down there, and never take it for granted.
Christopher?
Colonel Lofbaum, General Shepard, as our representatives of the Air Force, Davis Monthan here in southern Arizona, Luke up near Phoenix, what are their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to remaining open? Colonel Lofbaum, you were wing commander at DM not that long ago. What's good and bad at these different bases?
Well, I think, first of all, we need to recognize that Davis Monthan Air Force Base, and it's not the only installation here in Tucson. You need to remember also that we have the 162nd Fighter Wing at Tucson International. But here in Tucson and in southern Arizona, you have great weather, and that was recognized 50, 60, 80 years ago. And you have a lot of wide open space, which means it is a great training area for America's warfighters. So that is a huge draw, just having the ability to train out on the Goldwater ranges and the ability to have such great weather here. It is probably, for attack aviation, which is what we do at Davis Monthan Air Force Base, the best local training area on the planet. So that makes the base extremely valuable. But also you can't forget there are many other units at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, including the AMARG, where we store all of the old aircraft, the aircraft that may be brought back into service because of, again, the good weather you have here. It's a prime location for keeping America's equipment ready to go if you need it again. And of course, the many other units like 12th Air Force that are there. So you have a tremendous well of capability here brought here for the environment, but also because of the community itself.
And General Shepard, Luke and the other assets, in addition to Davis-Monthan, they all have strengths and weaknesses also, I would assume.
Yeah, every base has strengths and weaknesses, and that's the problem. When it comes to the fear of the big word BRAC, or base closure, everybody's supposedly on a level playing field. The thing we have going for us in Arizona, and the thing we have going for us particularly in southern Arizona, is weather, airspace, and ranges for both the Army and the Air Force. So we have it over everybody else as far as location goes. But it's supposed to be a level playing field, and everybody is vulnerable. Everybody needs to be concerned on BRAC. But this is not only just a great place to live, but it's a great place for the military in southern Arizona.
You described it as BRAC as a bit of a competition. Can you elaborate on what you meant?
Yeah, it's indeed a competition. Theoretically, all the bases from all the services are on a level playing field. Each service has its base closure committee, which then grades all of their bases and recommends which one to close to DOD. DOD comes up with a consolidated list, and that list then goes to Congress for a thumbs up or a thumbs down vote. Supposedly politics do not end. It is a very fair process, but it's still human judgment that goes into the voting of which to close and what not to close. And so everybody theoretically is as vulnerable as everybody else. We think we have the thing that keeps us really special in this, again, which is weather, airspace, ranges out here.
You've all been in leadership roles. What is the mindset, what is the thinking behind when we start talking about BRACs? How are you preparing yourselves? How are you preparing your teams?
Well, first of all, as a military commander at a particular installation, you need to make sure that you have taken account of what your capabilities are at the installation and you communicate them to leadership accurately. Every year, as a part of the original 1995 BRAC process, there is an economic impact study that is conducted. So as the commander at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, you need to make sure that you've taken full account of all the capability at that installation. For example, last year at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, the commander, Colonel Blanchard, conducted the study and determined that the local impact just for Davis-Monthan Air Force Base was about $1.1 billion. So that's a key element to make sure that you can communicate the goodness of what the base has to offer to the local community in addition to all of the warfighting capability that brings forward for the nation.
We have here Fort Huachuca, Davis-Monthan, the 162nd, Luke, the Goldwater Range, the Yuma Proving Grounds, the Marine Air Station at Yuma. When the powers that be start looking for places to cut in a BRAC, do they look at Arizona and go, you know, Arizona's got a lot. They could afford to lose something, or do those things not play in?
Theoretically, those things should not play in. Theoretically, each base should be basically evaluated on what it provides to the military mission and to the service involved. Now, as you're voting on a committee, this type of thing, that type of thing may play in, but theoretically, that is not a part of the factor. Each base is evaluated on what it contributes to the service mission and also to the national security mission.
Lieutenant Colonel, you want to add to that?
Well, I would just say that the community needs to take a look at the economic impact of each of these bases as well. Down in Fort Huachuca, it's the largest employer in Cochise County. I think the tax revenue is about 23 million local tax and about 17 million in property tax. And it contributes about $2.4 billion to the community annually. So the community needs to be supporting this BRAC process as well as the installation. And the installation does just need to make sure that they're economizing, they're doing the best they can to use resources wisely and make others realize the significance of their mission on their installation.
If any one of these installations were threatened, it would be catastrophic to the Arizona economy. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I would
It's certainly a big impact, certainly a big impact. If it's, catastrophe is a valuated word, but it takes a long time once you close the base for the community to recover, no matter what community is involved.
And it's not only economic, it's social. You know, we have many installations, as you've mentioned, but going back to Davis-Monthan, been here for 80 years. The city, southern Arizona, and the people that the base has brought in, Americans, a very diverse culture, have woven lives together. There's a large percentage of the population of Tucson that is somehow connected. So it's more than simply warfighting, the warfighting capability that the installation brings forward. It's more than simply the economics. It is a social engine of diversity in many ways for the state in southern Arizona. So it would be a big deal to lose that type of benefit that an installation brings.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll end on that note. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your analysis today. To some other news this week, fireworks at the Arizona legislature. Political correspondent Christopher Conover back with us to break it all down. I mean, this is truly fireworks that we had.
It really was. It was a 3-hour debate Thursday afternoon in the House over what was postured as a religious freedom bill. The big part of it that caused the fireworks was a provision that allows the business or an individual to refuse service on religious grounds. And that includes refuse service to members of the gay and lesbian community on religious grounds. You don't have to serve them in your restaurant or at your business or anything like that. It did pass, like I said, 3 hours of fireworks on the House floor on Thursday, but it did pass and has passed both the House and Senate and is now off to the governor. Really
unleashing a fury of emotion. The governor has it. How long before she makes a decision?
The governor has 5 days to act on it. That clock starts when she gets it. We'll assume that she has it at this point. It's not a big deal to just send it upstairs to the governor. So early next week, she's out of town. We'll be back on Tuesday. Chances are she won't act. She doesn't have to act before she gets back. So Tuesday is when we're looking for some action on it.
Very early, but we're already hearing references to SB 1070, people saying this is a discriminatory bill, and they're already making comparisons.
Absolutely. This is back in the national spotlight. People are comparing it to SB 1070. There are businesses that are making fun of it, if you will. A pizzeria in Tucson put up a sign that said they reserve the right to refuse to serve state lawmakers, kind of making fun of this. This is going to be a big deal no matter what happens.
Okay, we'll look for more of this to come in the coming weeks. All right, and that does it for this edition of Arizona Week. Join us next week as we take a look at Arizona's water resources. For all of us here at Arizona Week, I'm Lorraine Rivera.